Well, we just saw Fantastic Four last week, and I gotta say, it is fantastic.
Say that again.
Joking aside, everybody, yeah, the Fantastic Four film. I'm gonna get into my review first, and then Superfan K's review. And I just gotta say, this right here, this film was the Fantastic Four film that I have been waiting for the past 18 years. Now, this is a bit of a hot take, but I actually didn't hate the Tim Story Fantastic Four films that were released back in the 2000s. I actually really liked them, and they stayed true to the core essence of the characters from the comics. Especially the 1994 one that was never released. That one was okay as well. Um, so yeah, I mean they did change a lot of things from the comics that I thought was bullshit, like making Doctor Doom a Norman Osborn Lex Luthor knockoff. That was just stupid. Turning Galactus into a giant space anus. Just why? And but yeah, for the most part, they got the core essence of the characters right. And the unholy abomination that shall never ever be named that was released in 2015. The less we talk about that, the better. But I would say I blame a lot of people blame 20th Century Fox for it, but I would actually say that Josh Trank was the wrong choice for the film from the get-go because he didn't want to adapt anything from the comics to begin with. He wanted to do his own dark, gritty take on the characters, so he was the wrong director for it, I would argue. But the original script by Jeremy Slater for the 2015 film, that was pretty good. That was a really good script. And now for this film, this is the Fantastic Four film that, ironically, is the fourth attempt by Hollywood to make, and the most successful one at that, which is kind of either a cosmic joke or a coincidence. You take your bets. So yeah, for this film, everything works. Like they got the nature for the characters right, the cast were great, the story was great, and that mid-credit scene with Doctor Doom, chef's kiss. Like well, wow, like I seriously can't wait for Doomsday now. Although I am actually slightly worried for Doomsday, and I'll get into why later. But yeah, so let me start off with what I loved about this film first. The cast were all great: Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, and the guy who plays Johnny Storm. His name is escaping my mind.
Joseph Quinn.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, he was really good as well. A lot of people have said that Pedro Pascal was miscast, and while I kind of can understand where they were coming from, I still thought he did a great job, and I could really buy that he was this really smart scientist and who tries really hard to keep his family together. Vanessa Kirby is by far the best live action Sue Storm we've ever gotten. Like no disrespect to Jessica Alba, like she was good, but Vanessa Kirby, she knocked it out of the park, and I really liked how they portrayed like she's the glue that keeps the team together. She's the conscience of the team, the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four. Because I do believe that's how she was in the comics. Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, he was really good. Although I do wish they used some VFX to make his voice a little deeper. It's just hearing that voice coming out of his mouth when he was in his thing form, it was a little bit off. So I kind of wish they just deepened his voice a little bit like they did with Ralph Ineson. And I gotta get this out of the way. The actor who played Johnny Storm was amazing. He was I finally remembered his name. His name was something. His name is Johnny Quinn, Daniel Quinn or something. What's his name?
Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn. That's his name.
Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn. I said Johnny Quinn. Anyways, but yeah, what I really liked about this version of Johnny Storm was that they actually portrayed him as being actually intelligent and capable of being really smart and understanding science. Because in the comics, he was actually pretty smart. I mean, he was a scientist too, and seeing him like use his knowledge of linguistics to piece together Shala Ball's alien language was really good to see. And not only that, the other cast members were great. Like the actress who played Shala Ball was really good. Her name is escaping my mind again. But
Julia
do you
Garner.
remember her?
Julia
Yeah,
Garner.
Julia Garner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julia Garner and Ralph Ineson. He was phenomenal as Galactus, and yeah, he was so threatening, so menacing, and he fully captured Galactus's domineering presence that he had in the comics. Every time he was on screen, you felt his monstrous presence, and that design, like, it really looked like they just took his design from the comics and translated onto the big screen instead of making him a giant cloud space anus demon like in the 2007 Rise of the Silver Surfer film. Like, and I gotta get this out of the way. What the fuck is it with early 2000 superhero films and villains who are giant clouds? Like the 2011 Green Lantern film told Parallax into a giant diarrhea demon. Like, what the fuck was that about?
It's probably just because people that made those movies don't think that stuff from the comics works in live action, so they change it because they want to make it feel a little bit different than what people are expecting, and it usually ends up backfiring. So, you know,
It
you live
is.
and
It
learn.
really does.
Yeah.
It does. And yeah, but still, nonetheless, Galactus was phenomenal in this film. Now, did I have the one more thing I gotta get out of the way is that I also loved how they actually made the Fantastic Four feel like a family, because if you're doing an adaptation of the comics, you have to make them feel like they're a family unit. If you don't, you completely miss the point of the Fantastic Four. And not only that, I also loved how this film fully embraced the 1960s Silver Age vibe from the comics, like where it takes place in the 1960s, but it's very futuristic and has like modern day tech. That was a really good spin. I loved that. And now, did I have any issues with this film? Well, the pacing does get a little slow during the latter half of the movie, and and another problem I did have. It's not like a huge issue that bogs down the quality of the film. This is just a personal pet peeve of mine. But I really do wish they picked another villain other than Galactus. And the reason I say that is because he's too like grand scale of a villain just to have him be the main villain for the first film right away. They should have saved him for either the second or third film. The one villain who I think would have been perfect for this film and the rest of the MCU moving forward is Owen Reese, the Molecule Man. Because if you remember in the comics, the Molecule Man, he played a very integral part of Secret Wars by helping Doctor Doom steal the Beyonder's power and ascending to God Emperor status. So having him be the main villain for this film and then like the secondary antagonist of Doomsday and Secret Wars would have worked very well. And other than that, oh yeah, I forgot to bring this up. There's been a lot of debate between which is the better film, the better comic book film of the month of July, this or Superman. I don't care if I get hate for this, but I actually marginally prefer this film over Superman, just by one margin. Galactus was a more menacing villain than Lex Luthor was in Superman, because I brought this up in my live stream with you, but the biggest problem I had with Luthor and Gunn Superman was that he was like really he was intimidating throughout most of the film, but then in the third act he just turned into a complete joke when Krypto started like dragging him around like a rag doll. At that moment, it was very hard for me to take him seriously. But this version of Galactus, I took him seriously throughout the entire runtime. So my final rating for the film, I would say, is an 8.5 out of 10. Now, okay, Hannibal, it's your turn. But by the way, I didn't watch your review of the film yet on your channel. I wanted to get your thoughts right away, so just to surprise me a little bit. So, what did you feel about it? And by the way, you can talk about spoilers. This is a spoiler live stream.
Yeah. I really liked the movie. I really dug it. I think that it gets a lot of things right. It gets a lot of the things right that I wanted to see right. I mean, first, I don't feel like I can really talk about it without talking about visually how the film is like one of the best looking, I think, MCU movies that we've had in a long time. The movie had its own distinct style, its own distinct visual flair to it. The cinematography, the visual effect, a lot of the CGI. I mean, all of this was top-notch stuff. They did a great job at not only capturing like the art design for like a 60s retro futuristic type of vibe, but excuse me, they also really leaned harder into the sci-fi aspect of the Fantastic Four. A lot of people, a lot of people don't realize, yes, they're superheroes, but The Fantastic Four are also explorers. A lot of the Fantastic Four stories in comics turn cosmic. You know, like they are very much on the cosmic side of Marvel, and there's a heavy sci-fi element to a lot of their stories too. And this movie, I feel like, really captured and nailed that. I mean, I feel like the first 45 minutes of the movie was pretty much perfect. Like, I feel like everything was perfection. I didn't have an issue with anything really. I was loving the movie. This was going to go down as like an all-time comic book movie for the first half. I thought that the characters were incredibly well done. I had doubts about Pedro Pascal's casting. I had doubts about Joseph Quinn. I wasn't really feeling them as their respective characters, but I gotta say, as far as like depicting the characters, they proved me wrong. Pedro, I thought he did a great job at bringing Reed, the Reed that I know, that I'm familiar with, and that I think a lot of people are familiar with in this movie. They did a good job at capturing the guilt, the anxiety that Reed has, the nerdiness, the awkwardness at times. The scene with him and Sue arguing, where he says he has to think of the worst scenario possible in order to protect them, in order to keep everyone safe. I thought that several times throughout the movie, I was just like, yeah, that's Reed. When they're in the ship and Reed is trying to explain how they would get information on the bad guy Galactus that they're supposed to be taking down, and Ben and Johnny are like trolling him and falling asleep. I was just like, these are the definitive versions of these characters that I've waited a long time to see. No disrespect to previous versions. I'm sure every every version of every character has its own fan base and has its own people who thought they were done. For the record, I thought the original Fantastic Four was well cast at the very least. But I thought Pedro did great. I thought Ben and Johnny, their relationship, their banter, their back and forth, their dynamic was really fun to watch, and felt a lot like it's supposed to feel, like two brothers, two best friends, just kind of trolling each other half the time. I thought that was pretty good. Vanessa Kirby, I don't really have enough words to describe how great she was. She gave the best performance in the movie. She had the best character in the movie. She was the most powerful person in the movie, which I feel like not a lot of people are aware that Sue Storm is actually the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four in the source material. It's not that close either. I'm not sure why people
like Hannibal, keep this in mind. In Fantastic Four issue 550, she was strong enough to restrain the Hulk with her force fields and put him down. Like, if she was powerful enough to do that, then it's perfectly plausible she was able to be strong enough to like push Galactus into the portal. Because that was a heavily criticized moment in the film. Like, how was she strong enough to pull a cosmic powerful being like
I
Galactus?
just feel like
that
a
was
lot of
her problem.
people just are not aware of Sue Storm and how powerful she is. Plus, if you look at that circumstance, she probably got a bit of an emotional boost because of Sue's trying to protect her baby. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about the superstitions involving mothers and what they can do to protect their baby. You always hear like these folk tales about like a woman that can like lift up a car to like protect her baby. Like, women are capable of doing incredible things when their child is threatened. And I think we saw that, plus Sue just being the powerhouse that she is. And it's not like she was really hurting Galactus. She was just pushing him. And she honestly almost didn't even do it. Like, she fell down a couple of times during it. She needed Ben to knock over a building in order to help her out. And even then, after she did it, Galactus still was cool. Like, he came through and he was about to come back through the portal and he was about to be fine. And that's what they needed the Silver Surfer to get that last little hit in.
Yeah,
So-
she was not the one that beat Galactus. It was actually Shala Bal who beat him. All Sue Storm did was just push him near the portal.
Yeah. And then she died. You know, like, if there's no Franklin, she's dead. Like she died in the first movie. So shout out to Vanessa Kirby, the entire cast. The sequence, speaking of sci-fi, in the middle of the film was, I mean, it's one of the best things they've ever done. From the conversation with Galactus to the fight and the escape with Shala Ball, and it just took. It's a superhero movie that turned into some wild sci-fi excerpt from Interstellar or something. Like it was just kind of incredible on all fronts, like visually, sonically. Like it was just amazing to watch. I do feel like the movie kind of peaked at that moment. I feel like the first 45 minutes built to it, and that's such an all-time scene that unfortunately it does feel like there's a little bit of a come down after that. Like it feels like the movie never really gets that good ever again. That's not to say the rest of the movie's bad. I mean, I still had a good time with the rest of it. I just feel like the movie flowed perfectly all the way up to that moment, and then once it reached that moment, it never really reached that moment again. And it just kind of, you could feel a little bit of stalled momentum. The pacing definitely slows down in the second half. I also feel like I have two gripes with the four, not from a character standpoint, but just in terms of like how they were utilized in the film. Unfortunately, I feel like Ben Grimm, I feel like he didn't really get much to do in this movie. Like he's the one that suffered the most. I feel like the rest of the four, they had actual agency in the story and the narrative. Like they felt important. They felt urgent. I feel like they did what they were supposed to do from a narrative standpoint, and they all had something that was pushing them or driving them in some way. Ben was, I said this in my review, he was kind of like the emotional support uncle for the whole group, and he was good, and he looked good, and I do understand the nitpick about his voice. I get it. I initially, same thing. I thought his voice should sound a little different. But I just feel like Ben was kind of sidelined by the narrative. He didn't really get a lot of opportunities to do anything here in the story. The best they could come up with was him kind of sort of flirting with that hot teacher from across the street or something. And outside of that, they didn't really give Ben anything from a narrative standpoint to chew on, which is kind of.
Yeah, Hannibal. How awesome would it have been if it was Alicia Masters instead?
I mean, yeah, I thought that's what it would have been. It would have been a natural choice, but I suppose they could bring in Alicia later. But I just thought, Ben was just kind of there, and he was just kind of cool, and he just didn't get enough to chew on. He didn't get enough material to work with in the movie. He's kind of sidelined. And then I would probably say when it comes to Reed, I feel like they kind of underutilized his powers and abilities in the movie. Like I feel like they didn't really use his powers a lot. And then when they did use them, we didn't get to see him use his powers in a creative or inventive way. And you could argue there's a certain part of Reed, I mean, even with the caveat that he was being stretched, paused by excuse me, a cosmic god, right? And he was being stretched against his will, which has happened in the comics, and it usually hurts. I get that. But even then, it feels like his abilities were a little bit nerfed here. It feels like if I compare it to the Reed from the Tim Story films, that Reed got a lot more opportunities to use his powers in interesting ways. And we didn't really get that with Reed in this movie. I think the only reason I'm okay with it is I feel like Reed's best superpower is his brain. And I feel like this movie was more focused on utilizing his intelligence and less so on his powers and abilities. Also, I feel like it's the first movie and they don't need to show us everything. It's possible that this version of Reed has not tested his limits yet, has not gone above and beyond because he's been more focused on the scientific part of things. So it's possible in future movies we could see him continue to expand, no pun intended, his abilities and get better and figure new things out. I mean, I don't think you learn everything about how your powers work in 4 years, right? I mean, do you think Sue knew in this universe that in Earth 828, do you think she knew that she was powerful enough to push a planet eater? Like, she probably never imagined that she'd be able to do that. But when the circumstance called for it, she had to push herself to her limits, and she did it. So it's possible in the future film, we might see Reed do more. But I thought that was like a slightly disappointing thing with the film. I weirdly feel like Superman, since you did bring up Superman, I weirdly feel like Superman and Fantastic Four have very similar flaws. They have different strengths, and they're not the same movie, but they have similar flaws. This movie definitely felt like there was at least 15 to 20 minutes missing. It felt like the movie could have used an extra 15 to 20 minutes. And there are scenes, like, even when you look at the trailer, there's whole scenes in that trailer that are just not present in the movie at all. And you just kind of wonder what happened here. Like, there's a lot of the film that feels like it's on the cutting room floor. I've seen people complain also. They compare the speech at the end of Superman to Sue's speech at the end of this movie. I think both of them work, but I also think there is a fair criticism with both films, in the sense that the film kind of introduces a conflict with the hero and the people of the story, like the civilians, the regular people. And then the movie both films, it feels like, kind of conveniently get rid of the conflict at a moment's notice just because something else happens in the story. In Superman, it was, well, Jahanapur, they obviously, they would not care about news reports that Superman is here to destroy us, because he saved our lives last week. So they were kind of inspired by his actions. So I get that. And then it's more so like, well, Luthor got exposed, so now we should all apologize to Superman because he's always been that hero. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that sort of makes sense. It just feels a little bit fast.
Hannibal, I don't mean to cut you off, but I actually do have a theory that Lex's translation of the message was actually accurate, and I'll get to it later after you finish your thoughts, because I actually do have a theory on why it's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, no, the movie, James Gunn even came out and said that the message is real, right? So we know that the message that Luthor sent was real. It's just how the people reacted to it. At first, they reacted with such newfound distrust of Superman. You had one guy on TV saying, "I hope he rots in hell because I used to be a big Superman fan," right? And I just feel like maybe people are fickle.
Hannibal, does Bibbo Babowski exist in James Gunn's universe? Because I'm curious to know how he would have reacted.
TBD, I guess. I mean, we don't know. We don't know that for sure yet. I guess we'll find out, since James is intent on putting a bunch of cameos and shit in Peacemaker season 2. So we'll see. But yeah, I feel like both films, you could argue, played it a little bit safe when it comes to the conflicts that are introduced and then kind of very conveniently pushed away. But I think in both movies, even if it's convenient, it kind of makes sense. Like in Superman, the entire point of the movie is that his actions are what matters. Superman is from the Action Comics. So Superman's actions speak louder than anything else. And even if there's a little bit of distrust and there might be something to cause people to question his character, I think the people of Jahanapur showed, no, we believe in him because of what he's done. And we believe that that's who he is. And just like Pa Kent said, what you thought the message meant means a lot more than whatever anybody else wanted it to mean. And so Superman's actions and what he chooses to do is the whole point there. So I get why, after all of that, Luthor gets exposed for like doing his Barabia thing. And then people in our life are fickle. So I imagine in the comic book world, some of them are too. Like, in the era of misinformation, people believe anything that pops up, and they change their opinions on a dime. When you get new information, like that's a very quick thing. We have all the information at our fingertips, and it's constantly changing. So that makes sense for Superman. And in Fantastic Four, it's kind of funny because Sue comes outside. There's like a mob of angry people outside. Even when before she speaks, somebody yells out, "You're selfish," which is kind of hilarious, But she makes a speech. She talks about, community. We love you. We're not going to give up on you. We're going to do our best to. What's up, man? We're going to do our best to, protect you. I'm not going to give up my baby for you, but I'm not going to give you up just because I have a baby. And it was a beautiful, effective speech. She was speaking directly to the people. And then people complained that it's kind of like, well, they just kind of very quickly just got over it and immediately started helping the Fantastic Four a day or two later with their big plan. And again, I feel like that mentality comes from our own cynicism from our own world. And this is more so an idealized version of their world in the 60s, in the retro futuristic 60s or whatever. So what does that say? Literally the best year. I don't know about best year. It's a good one. We needed a good one. It's a bounce back year for sure. We've had some very iffy comic book movies coming out in the last few years, but the golden era for comic book movies was definitely 2012 to 2019. I mean, that's when we had. That's when, to me, I mean, obviously you got to include movies like the early age, like Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, that type of thing. I get it. Superman the movie. There's great comic book movies throughout the era, but as far as financially and like hype and excitement and buzz, there's no era in comic book movie history that matches 2012 to 2019. There's just nothing like it. But either way, I did see some people complaining about, they shouldn't have been able to beat Galactus and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know how many people actually read the Fantastic Four comics. If anybody actually knows the Fantastic Four, they know that they've beaten Galactus multiple times in the comics, and they deal with threats like Galactus all the time, which is why I get irritated when I get kind of irritated when people say like, "Oh, Galactus is an Avengers level threat. There's no way the Fantastic Four." I'm like, where does this Avengers level threat come from? Fuck the Avengers. The Avengers suck. Okay, the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and I hate to say it like that, but I'm sorry, but the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, they deal with Avengers level threats all the time. Like this is just an average Tuesday for these fuckers. Right? Like this, they do this shit all the time. So the idea that they're incapable of beating Galactus or something is just not true if you read the source material. They do this shit all the time. The X-Men do too. The Avengers are the ones that are kind of sitting on their hands at the time.
Yeah, and Annabelle, keep this in mind. I actually just found this out. This is hilarious. Another comic book fan brought this up to me. There was one issue of the Ultimate Comics run where Kitty Pryde, of all people, defeats Galactus by punching him into a portal. I'm not making that up. It actually did happen.
No, yeah. I know the story. It's probably just because of the lack of exposure. Like we haven't had a lot of good Fantastic Four representations in live action. The X-Men movies are kind of hit or miss, and they're kind of nerfed anyways, right, in those stories. But if anybody knew anything about them, they would never bring up Avengers level threat to these two groups, because these two groups, they can handle their shit. Like they're very capable of handling a threat like Galactus. I was more so worried. Exactly. People need to get off the Avengers taint. Like they're not that good, to be honest with you. But I was more so worried they were going to kill Galactus, and I'm glad that they kind of just banished him to the other side of the universe, whatever the fuck that means. I think overall it hit the highs that it needed to hit, and even when the movie had some lulls and some lows, it never got so low that I wasn't still always having a good time. I think the more important thing is they nailed everything that the Fantastic Four is supposed to be. They're a family, they're a team, but they're also scientists and they're explorers. And they kind of just wear whatever hat is necessary for them to protect people and to get the job done. Like, they are superheroes, but I like how in the film they showed they don't just approach every single problem by just trying to like use their powers to overwhelm it or whatever. Like, when their planet was threatened, they immediately said, okay, well, let's just go talk to them. Let's go see what's going on. Let's go investigate it. When they came back to Earth, they didn't just say, well, let's just build up our defenses and test when he gets here, we'll use our powers. No, they're like, let's come up with an actual plan that's going to protect everybody. So I honestly, it's a really good movie.
Hannibal, how would you rate it?
I would give it a 7.5 out of 10, probably. I do briefly want to touch on the post-credit scene, if I may.
Go ahead.
I have mixed feelings about the post-credit scene, which is leading to mixed feelings about Avengers Doomsday too. Because on the one hand, it's 4 years later. It's nice to see Doctor Doom show up at the end of a post-credit scene. It's like, oh my God, this is great. Like, it teases something. I would rather a post-credit scene tease something exciting for the future. So that's cool. But I have like too many questions for me to be like really satisfied with it. We all know that they couldn't get Robert Downey Jr. to film this scene, I guess. And immediately in one scene, he already has his mask off, which is hilarious because that's like one of the main things that people are concerned about going into Avengers Doomsday is that they have to show Robert Downey's face. So his mask is going to be off sometimes so that we can get the whole Mr. Stark, what are you doing type of thing. And I'm just like, yeah.
Hannibal, you want to know what would work if they have him like wearing his mask 90% of the time, and then the only time that we actually see him without his mask off is when he has to like reveal his face to the Avengers, like reveal his face just in a few moments here and there, but most of the time he keeps it on.
Well, I think the concern is that's not how they're going to do it because Robert Downey Jr. is too famous to not show his face for most of the movie. I guess we'll see, but it's kind of weird because it's like, is his face fucked up? Because that's kind of part of the point of the mask. Like, Franklin was just sitting there touching his face. Either Franklin doesn't care that his face is fucked up or his face isn't fucked up. And that's also something we didn't see. I feel like a more effective thing would have just been Doom showing up and then he turns around and we see he still has his mask on. And then it cuts to black and we don't know what the fuck happens right after that. Instead, he just kind of shows up and we don't know the context yet. Not to mention, they're probably going to have to do something for Spider-Man Brand New Day because that's the next Marvel movie. They're probably going to have to include some post-credit scene now that ties the post-credit scene from the end of the Thunderbolts to whatever the fuck happened at the end of... Because it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, at the end of Thunderbolts, they see a ship emerging into their space, and it's a Fantastic Four ship. But that has nothing to do with the end of Fantastic Four, because in the end of Fantastic Four are still on their Earth, perfectly fine. And then Doomsday shows up, and we don't know, or not Doomsday, Doom shows up, and we don't know like what that means or how all of that connects to anything, because it feels like two separate post-credit scenes with two different endings. But I will say, I like the fact that the mask doesn't just look like an Iron Man mask or whatever. It looks like an actual mask. I think that's cool. And
Hannibal, to be honest with you, I saw like only like 75% of the mask from the shot, but I kind of wish they had the mask be similar to the one that Julian McMahon wore in the 2015 Fantastic Four film, where like the brow ridges make him look angry, and it's more like dark silver instead of bright silver. That's just a personal preference for me. It looks fine. It's just I wish it could have looked better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to find things that I like. Like, I feel like Doom obviously just tells us he has some kind of plan for Franklin, right? But we don't know. There's like So I'm assuming Doom is the one that showed up because I doubt Franklin would just randomly summon Doom to his living room, right? So Doom just kind of shows up here after Franklin turns 4. Is he from their world? Because we saw early in the movie when they were at the foundation, when they were looking at all the world leaders or whatever, we saw the Latveria post was empty. You know, like, so that I would assume that this Doom is from their world and he just hasn't been a thing yet for them.
Hannibal, how awesome would it have been if they actually did give Doctor Doom a cameo in this film, where like the Fantastic Four go to Latveria to seek Doom's help to teleport the Earth to another side of the universe, and they need him to build a teleporter, like the teleportation machine, onto Latveria to help assist. And Doctor Doom is like, I'll only help you this one time because my people are at stake as well. You know, how awesome would it have been if they actually gave him a cameo in this film?
I mean, yeah, I feel like they probably could have worked it in. Unfortunately, they'd have to add an extra 15 minutes to the movie, and apparently they didn't want to do that. Like, it goes to the same problem with Superman, where I just feel like
they could have done it for like. But here's the thing: they could have done it for like 5-7 minutes max.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is, but these last two, especially, they just feel like they were mandated or something to be 2 hours or less, and it feels like it hurt both films in different ways. Like in the Fantastic Four movie, Galactus was very intimidating when he showed up. Like, he was very menacing and everything. I love his voice, but he's in like 2% of the movie. Like, he has like 2 scenes, maybe 3, I think. And I honestly wanted more Galactus, and I also could have used more Shia LaBeouf. We did get one scene with her where they kind of just zoom through her backstory a little bit. I could have used like an entire sequence where we actually get to see her. Like, all we got to see her was on a beach in a dress, and the next thing we know, she's getting beamed up and getting silver liquid poured all over her body. And this all happens in a span of like 3 minutes or less. It feels very fast. I just would have liked to see more scenes of Shia LaBeouf. I would have liked to have seen more Galactus. I feel like this movie could have used more Ben. Like I said, Ben felt very underutilized, unfortunately. And it's the same thing as Superman. Superman is a movie that's, I think, faster paced and has more action. So I feel like people view it as like more of a crowd pleaser. But even in Superman, it feels like there might be some scenes missing. It feels like maybe they could have added some more scenes for like the Kent or for Clark or, just period overall. So it's a shame, but I wish I was kind of intrigued by the post-credit scene, but I'd be lying if I said I was excited, because I just have a lot of, do you wish they showed Dr. Doom's face? No, I don't really need to see his face in that moment. I just feel like something better than him like letting the kid feel up his face while his mask is off in like a very random moment of he just pops into the living room and is just like, here, kid, touch my face. Like, you notice how fast that shit happened? Like, there should have been like a real scene where we get to see Doom, actually see him. And
second of all, like, it's really creepy that he would let a child touch his face. Like, that's just a little creepy if you really think about it. Like, I'm just expecting Chris Hansen to show up and like, Mr. Doom, have a seat right over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very quick. Like, she goes to get a book and she turns around and Doom is just there and Franklin's touching his face, and I'm just like, it introduces so many questions that I did not, I shouldn't be having at that moment. Like, what are you doing here? Why? What? Why is he touching? Why is your mask off already? Like, already, people who have like stressing about that for Doomsday, it's like the first, you gave them ammunition. It's like, oh my God, like, he already took his mask off, of course, because they can't help but take his mask off. And I'm just like, I have more questions. How does this connect to what we saw at the end of the Thunderbolts? So now Spider-Man Brand New Day, if they don't have a post-credit scene to explain it, I feel like I'm going to be really confused going into Avengers Doomsday, because I'm going to be like, well, how do these scenes have anything to do with each other or whatever? If I had to guess, I would say that Doom is going to try to use Franklin for something. I agree. It should have been extended. I feel like he's going to try to use Franklin for something. He's either going to try to steal Franklin.
Hannibal, Hannibal, I actually have a theory on what he's going to do with Franklin. So my theory is that he's going to use Franklin as Franklin's powers of resurrection, like what we saw early in the end of the film, to resurrect Wanda Maximoff from the dead, so he can have Wanda be a conduit to absorb the powers of God Loki, so that he can become God of the multiverse and become God Emperor Doom. That's what I think he's going to use Franklin for.
And then he can remake the multiverse in his image. Yeah, I think that's a solid theory. I feel like they're not going to introduce the Beyonder or anything like that at this point. I don't think that would work. So whatever.
Here's the thing: we already have a Beyonder-esque character in the multiverse saga with God Loki.
Right. So they're just gonna use that if I had to guess. Whatever Doom's plan is, you can always bet it's going to involve seizing power, and it's going to involve reshaping a world or a universe or something in his image, or at least in his will, so that he can convince himself, like, in order to, and to be honest, as much as you don't like Doom, he sometimes has a point. Like, sometimes when he becomes a conqueror, there is peace. There's long-lasting peace for a while, and some of the issues in the comics. So I can't really say he never has a point. Although, you know, they're obviously not just going to let him do that shit this time. But I don't know.
And Hannibal, dude, I actually do very much believe that Doctor Doom is from the same universe as the First Steps, Fantastic Four, like in Earth 828, because like they did hint to him earlier in the film with the empty Latveria seats.
Yeah, yeah.
And not only that, and not only that, like when. But there's actually one problem with that I have, and I want to get into this with you. I really do wish they had casted Cillian Murphy as Doctor Doom instead of Robert Downey Jr. because for one, Cillian Murphy is the same age as Pedro Pascal, and in the comics, Reed and Doom are the same age as each other. So them casting an actor that is 11 years Pedro Pascal's senior was a mistake on their part. And not only that, if I swear to God, if they actually give Doctor Doom Tony Stark's personality and have him like being a wisecracking, charismatic jokester, I'm gonna walk out of the theater. Like that. I hope to God they don't do that.
It's probably been one of the biggest issues with the MCU in the last few years is that they've given almost every character Tony Stark's personality. Almost every character is just a sarcastic, wisecracking quip machine in a lot of their films. But I feel like they should know they can't do that with Doom. Doom is a completely different character. What's the point of casting? I mean, there's no point in casting him anyways. I've already made my feelings about the casting crystal clear. But I don't really see the point of casting Robert Downey as Dr. Doom if you're just going to ask him to act like Tony Stark again, just in a hoodie. Like, it kind of defeats the purpose. It doesn't even really make sense. I feel like they should know that they can't do that, but we'll see. I mean, I'm still very. I think they're pulling it.
What are your thoughts?
I honestly feel like part of me hopes that this is the case, that he's using Tony Stark's face to manipulate people to get what he wants, and then part of me thinks this is just massive coke. Like, I just feel like. No, I just feel like Feige went to him and was just like, save me, we're struggling. And then Robert Downey was like, give me $50 million and I'll do it. Feige said, deal. And Tony, Robert Downey was like, all right, who's this Dr. Doom guy again? And then he started researching it up. Like, it's an interesting theory. I feel like they possibly could be doing that. I can't rule it out. I also just feel like they're going to ask Robert Downey, coming off of the Oppenheimer win, to just act his ass off and hope that everybody's cool with it. That it's just one of those of the multiverse that he looks the way he looks.
There's also one other thing I got to get out of the way. They shouldn't have had They should have had Doctor Doom be the main villain of the multiverse saga from the very beginning, instead of Kang, because the biggest mistake that Kevin Feige made when he was planning out the multiverse saga is that he wanted Kang to be the main villain instead of Doctor Doom, and that was a huge mistake because if you're going to adapt Secret Wars, you have to have Doom be the main villain. Doing Secret Wars without Doom is like doing Infinity Gauntlet without Thanos. And I'm sorry, like if you were it's just that them dumping Kang and jumping straight away to Doctor Doom with no proper setup whatsoever, it's going to confuse the hell out of audiences. Because with the Infinity Saga, we knew that Thanos was going to be the big bad up until like 4 years before Infinity War came out. Like, yeah, that's you get my point, right?
Longer. We knew Thanos was coming at the end of the first Avengers movie. There is a post-credit scene that shows Thanos, and then there are several post-credit scenes, and Thanos had an entire appearance in a movie in Guardians. So it was like a steady buildup of a mixture of real scenes with Thanos and post-credit scenes that built him up. We knew Thanos was coming. And when he got here, they spent an entire movie focused on him and his perspective. And that's why Infinity War works so good. It's because it's all from Thanos' perspective pretty much. But here, it's just kind of like, well, we threw shit at the wall. It didn't work. So now we're going to throw more shit at the wall, except it's going to be nostalgia shit that we're throwing at the wall. And people like nostalgia shit. So they're just going to scrape the nostalgia shit off the wall and chew on the memories and see how it is. And it's just, it doesn't feel like it's organically like built to it. It doesn't feel like it fits even. Like, it just feels like they're at the end of their, like, they've had some tough films the last few years where they're not having the same type of success, and they're just kind of like, well, people like Robert Downey Jr., what's the worst that could happen? Let's just put him and a bunch of cameos and a bunch of, member berries into a movie, and we'll see what happens. And I just kind of
Hannibal, it's funny you brought that up because I have an exact clip for this occasion.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm obviously gonna see Avengers Doomsday. Like, I'm not gonna not see it, but I don't have at this current moment any real reason to be excited for it. I honestly feel like you should have introduced Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four before this. I feel like you should have some space in between where we see what we sort of get a feel for what Doom is doing. They introduced the Infinity Stones and they introduced Thanos before he showed up in 2018. So we already knew, okay, Thanos wants the Infinity Stones. He showed up in Guardians. He wanted one of the Infinity Stones. Like, we're going to be going into Avengers Doomsday and we're going to be like, okay, Doctor Doom, but what does he want? Why is he here? What's he doing? We have no we have no setup. We have no nothing. It's just kind of, they're throwing us cold turkey on the mat and seeing if we twitch. I don't know. Like, it's a little bit, it's unorthodox. It's kind of hilarious. Kevin Feige the other day was like, well, we never put together a movie without a script being done. And then you hear the Rebecca Romijn, who used to play Mystique in the old X-Men movies, and she comes out and she's like, what does that say? I really hope they don't give him a Batfleck treatment where act like, yeah, I mean, that's legit. That's legit. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can't rule it out. You can't rule it out. You want to say they wouldn't do that? I'd like to say they wouldn't do that. I'd like to say the Russos, the best movies of their career have been inside the MCU. And so they know what to do. They know how to do it, but I can't rule it out. I mean, at this point, you don't know what the plan is. And I think that's the difference between the Infinity Saga from before and the multiverse saga now, is that you don't know what the plan is anymore. You don't know where it's leading to. It was leading to Kang. Now Kang is gone, I guess. He's just vanished and we don't know what happened to him. And now, all of a sudden Doom is here, but it's like, okay, so what? We're just going to throw the X-Men and the Avengers and Doom into a movie and see what happens. Is that it? That's the big plan? I don't know. And then we're going to Secret Wars, where I'm pretty sure they're going to use Secret Wars to be like a very soft. Feige doesn't like the word reboot, but it's going to be a very soft, like, reset / reboot of the MCU after Secret Wars, which I'm pretty sure Franklin is going to he's gonna probably be the one to do it because he created the multiverse. He created in the comics. He created the new multiverse after what you call it? After it wasn't after Secret Wars. I'm forgetting the name of the issue and I'm forgetting the circumstances, but he basically recreated the multiverse at a certain point because that's what Franklin does. You know, people don't understand how OP that little fucker is, but Franklin can pretty much do anything. Like there's nothing. He's literally a god. He has the entire world at his fingertips, and he can create entire universes just for fun. In the comics, he made Galactus his herald. Like Galactus became his herald, and people were just like, "Oh, cute baby." And I was just at the end when Sue is lying there and she's dead, and I think Reed knows she's dead, and he just didn't want to accept it. I'm just sitting there in the theater, and I'm just like, Franklin, stop being lazy. Heal your mother. Come on. Like, what are we doing? Why are you wasting so much time here? You know you can do it. And sure enough, they put the baby right on the woman's chest, and it's just like brought her back to life. So,
hey, Hannibal, you want to know? You want to know what they should have done from the very beginning? What Kevin Feige should have done from the very beginning is that he should have had Kang be the main villain of an Avengers film for Phase 4 of the Multiverse Saga, and then introduce Doctor Doom later on in the Multiverse Saga in Phase 5 and 6. That's what he should have done from the beginning. Just have Kang be like the sub-level boss and Doom be the main level boss, to use video game terms.
You could have even had Doom be the one using Kang or something. Like you could have had them secretly working together or something, and then have Doom be revealed. Like we're in Phase 6 now. Infinity War, the Infinity Saga ended in Phase 3, right? So we've been through three. We've been through 2 phases now, and I have no idea where it's all been going or what is the plan with any of it.
Hey, Hannibal.
Like Shang-Chi, he came out in 2020. We have not seen Shang-Chi in 5 going on 6 years. I mean, Kevin Feige just the other day was
2021 actually.
He was like, well, the reason why the Captain America movie didn't do that well is because it's the first Captain America movie without Chris Evans. And I'm like, that's not the reason. The reason is you have a new Captain America that has been on people's screens twice in 6 years. Chris Evans appeared in 9 movies in 11 years when he first got introduced to the MCU. Like he showed up, he had cameos, he showed up in team up things. Like Sam is supposed to be the new Captain America, and you have shown him twice in 6 years. Once on a streaming service series that was only 6 episodes long, and the other one in a movie that came out in February, in which it wasn't even really his movie. It was a sequel to The Incredible Hulk that happened to have Captain America in it. Like, what do you mean it's because of Chris Evans? It's not because of Chris Evans. You're trying to blame it on Anthony Mackie. It's because you didn't do the work. You didn't do the work to try to establish this character. Like, you should have been shoving, no pun intended, you should have been shoving Anthony Mackie's Captain America down our fucking throats for years so that we'd get used to the idea of him being Captain America. Now, if you ask people, they don't know who's the leader of the Avengers or who's doing what. Like, the Avengers are scattered. Nobody knows whose team is doing what. Apparently, one team of Avengers is suing the other team, if we're supposed to believe the end of Thunderbolts. Like, what are we doing here? Why? It just, that's what I'm saying. It feels like the build-up to the Infinity Saga was completely earned. And here it just feels like we don't have to earn it because we're Marvel and we can just kind of do anything.
Yeah. And Hannibal, keep this in mind. So this clip is Kevin Feige explaining what happened to the Kang storyline in the Multiverse Saga.
It's all a Fugazi. You know what a Fugazi is?
No, Fugazi. It's a fake.
Yeah, Fugazi. It's a wazi. It's a woozy. It's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real. Right? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Yeah,
Which is a shame. Which is a shame because I've read the Kang Dynasty storyline from the comics. Like, I have a copy of it in my collection. I mean, it's upstairs. I can't bring it now, but it really is a phenomenal storyline, and I was really looking forward to seeing it adapted on the big screen. Like they could have still kept Jonathan Majors and have the Kang Dynasty be like a team up film between Kang and Doom, but they could have cut sort of works it out. But now they wanted to throw him away and go with Doom. But not only that, like they also said that the reason that they dumped Kang was because Quantumania flopped. But the question that I have for them in return is, what were you thinking making Kang the main villain for an Ant-Man movie? That's what I want to know. Like,
Not
why-
only
why-
that, why did you make the guy who's supposed to be the big bad of the next phase get defeated by a group of technologically advanced ants? Like, why did you let that happen? Like, he
To
said,
be fair,
"Oh,
Hannibal-
well, we
to be
knew
fair-
we found out he wasn't Thanos," and I'm just like, yeah, maybe don't have the dude get beaten by a pack of ants in his first appearance. I don't know. It's just a novel idea.
and Hannibal, like just a little time out for a bit, but to be fair, the ants didn't beat Kang. They just swarmed and overwhelmed him and just put him down for a bit. It was technically Janet who and Scott who beat him. But you are in fact correct that the ants swarming and overwhelming him was just stupid and neutered him as a threat.
Maybe they should have left the movie the way it was before they decided to reshoot it and change it. Maybe a more effective way of introducing Kang would be to have him kill Ant-Man. Like, it does feel like if you watch the end of that movie, Scott and Hope, or just Scott maybe, were supposed to be stuck in the quantum realm. And I think a more effective way of introducing Kang is what if Kang actually kills Ant-Man at the end of that movie? And we love Scott, so we would like, that's a perfect way to establish a new threat and a new villain. If you're gonna establish him, is to have him be enough of a threat that he kills one of your own. So now that adds to the conflict, it adds to the drama. Now the rest of the Avengers are like, okay, this guy's on our radar. He took out Scott. We want some get back, right? And if you're gonna have him talk about, well, I killed Thor in another universe in the movie, right? Like he said to Scott, he was like, "Are you the one with the hammer or something? The one that I killed before?" And I'm just like, does he look like the guy with the hammer? What do you mean? Like, why would you ask that? That's kind of weird.
Does he have blonde hair?
Right. Did you find a Thor that wore a red suit and that could shrink and grow and he had a hammer? 'Cause that sounds OP as fuck. I want to meet that Thor.
Hannibal, you want to know what would have been an even better reference if he says, "You're not the Avenger who swings on the webs, are you?" And then he says something along the lines of, "Actually, no, you got me confused with another bug-themed hero."
Yeah, like that's good. I feel like I just feel like if you're gonna establish Kang, there were better ways to do it. There are better movies to do it. But if you're gonna put him in Ant-Man and in Quantumania, don't tell me he's a big threat and then have him rushed by ants and then defeated by Janet and Hope and everybody at the end of the movie, and everything's fine at the end. And I'm just like,
And
why didn't you just have him like kill or something? Like, it would have been heartbreaking. Like, that's what would have
And Hannibal, keep this in mind. The very first time we saw Thanos in the MCU, no, not the first time, but the first time we saw him as the main villain in an MCU film in Infinity War, he beat the Hulk in a fist fight. That alone established him as a serious threat for the Avengers. Because if he could beat the Hulk in a fist fight, how are the rest of the Avengers supposed to beat him up? That was a great introduction from the Russo.
He whooped Hulk's ass. He killed Loki right in front of Thor. He blew Thor's ship up and killed half of the Asgardians that were on the ship, I guess. And it was just like, all right, we got 2 stones and we got more to go. Like, that is a fucking entrance to a movie. That's how you establish. Like, we had years of, all right, Thanos is coming. All right, here he is. And in the first scene of the movie, he's just wrecking shit. You're just like, oh, okay, this guy means business. This guy's really here. And with Kang, you were just kind of like, ants. Ants is the way. Ants is how we'll get him. And then he'll survive that. And then he'll kick Scott around for a little bit. And then he'll lose. And that'll be the end of the movie.
Yeah, Hannibal. Where's the clip? Where's the clip? Hold on, I gotta find the clip real quick. Oh, there it is. To quote Deadpool in Deadpool 2.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Right. But at this point, it is what it is. We got Spider-Man: Brand New Day that comes out next year, and we got apparently they're still going to keep the Avengers Doomsday for next Christmas or whatever. So we'll see what happens. I have a sneaky suspicion they're going to delay it again, but we'll see how it goes. I wish I was more excited, but I am excited to see more of this Fantastic Four. I'm excited to see more of this cast. I'm excited to see them. I feel like we should have already seen them have at least one interaction with Doom, but that's fine. I want to see more of them, and I want to see what exactly was it that had their ship hovering in orbit in the 616 universe. Although I don't like calling it the 616 universe.
It's Earth 1999-99.
Yeah, I'd rather call it that because I agree with Iman Vellani, that's her name, who plays Kamala. She was just like, yeah, Feige, why you shouldn't call it 616. Why are you calling it 616? 616 is the actual comic canon. Don't call it 616. Call it something else. It doesn't make sense because now you're trying to like fuse the canon together with something you created. You've messed up a lot of stuff now because of this.
By the way, I want to get your opinion on something. So, Deadpool dropped this comment earlier saying that the Avengers were not popular before the MCU, and it was actually that film that skyrocketed them to popularity. Like, do you agree with that take? Because I know you're old enough to remember that.
Yeah, I think it's a fair take. I mean, I don't think the Avengers were like the Fantastic Four. I'm gonna be honest with you. The Avengers were known, like everybody knows who the Fantastic Four are, but they weren't as ingrained in the public conscious, right? They weren't as popular. They weren't as talked about. They weren't seen as a necessity by the people, right? And now the Avengers have become so much more popular that whenever there's a big bad in a movie, they try to call it an Avengers level threat, which is fucking embarrassing. But that is due to the growth and popularity of the Avengers because of these movies, because of what they've done. So, love them or hate them, you don't have to like all the Avengers movies. You don't have to like Iron Man. You can't deny that before Iron Man, people knew Iron Man, but was he loved? I don't know. Spider-Man has always been loved. It doesn't matter what era you go to. People have always loved Spider-Man. Go to any era, people have always loved Batman. Superman has not always been popular, but he's always been known and loved. I think people knew of Iron Man, but I don't know if he was loved. The same thing goes for the rest of them. Captain America. People knew of Captain America, but was he as loved as he is now? I think you could argue maybe not. I think you could argue that for Black Widow and Hawkeye. I don't think anybody really cared about those characters.
You could even make the same argument for Wonder Woman. Like before the 2017 Wonder Woman film, she was known but not loved, and it wasn't until the Patty Jenkins 2017 film that she skyrocketed to popularity.
I mean, yeah, I sort of agree with that. I don't know if I would. That's going a little bit too far. I don't know about that. I mean, Wonder Woman she hasn't been afforded the same opportunities. So in that sense, you're right. I don't know if I would say she wasn't loved though. I mean, she's always been universally recognized as a member of the Trinity. She's always been popular and loved. She just hasn't had the opportunities. And I feel like she's more iconic, if that makes sense. Like when you think of woman superhero, the first name that almost anybody is going to think of is, oh, Wonder Woman. When you think, hey, give me a superhero in a suit, before 2008, you may not have said Iron Man. You may have thought about a bunch of other superheroes. But now, if they say, hey, superhero, metal suit, what do most people think of? They're going to think, oh, Iron Man. And now Iron Man has become pop culture. Wonder Woman to me was always pop culture. She just never got the opportunities. But if we're just talking about a rise in popularity after a movie comes out, then I agree.
And DC tried to do the same thing for the Justice League, and look how that happened with the Whedon cut.
Well, the Whedon cut, yeah, the Whedon cut was also just a series of really unfortunate shit that happened back to back to back to back. Say what you want about Snyder and his brain trust and the quality of his films, but he and his people had a plan. They had somewhere that they were going. They had a roadmap to where they were going to end up. And it got sidetracked because of Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman, you know, they added Batman to the movie, and then Snyder wanted to add Wonder Woman to it, and they said, cool. And then they wanted to cut 30 minutes from the movie, and Snyder was like, cool. And then those 30 minutes kind of hurt the film, and then the rest of the stuff hurt the film too, like the tone and the depiction of the characters and stuff like that. And then it made Warner Brothers panic, basically. I mean, they came in after the craze of the Avengers. They had Christopher Nolan working on the story for Man of Steel with Zack. And they basically, from the get-go, were like, we want Avengers level money. And this was just very short-sighted people who didn't understand that Marvel had to basically build their universe the right way until it got to the point that their brand became so big that they could get that Avengers-style money even with characters that weren't Avengers. Like, did anybody expect the Guardians franchise to become as big as it was? Nobody even fucking knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy was in 2014. But $773 million later, people showed up to watch the movie because they had a brand at that point. These executives at Warner Brothers were just so short-sighted with everything. They just expected that money off the bat. And then when Batman v Superman, which wasn't a failure, but probably a mild financial disappointment, when that movie didn't make $1 billion, they panicked. They panicked, and they were just like, "Okay, no, we need stuff." So they started trying to fight Snyder for the next movie. You know, they're fighting him on stuff. They're trying to get him to change and tweak and do stuff. And you always have to do that kind of stuff with studio heads, in fairness, but more so on this one just because of what happened to BVS. And Snyder was also dealing with a personal tragedy around this time. You know, his daughter passed away. His daughter committed suicide, and it was harder for Zack to continue to work on the movie. He finished the movie, was in post-production, and then he just said, I can't do this shit no more, right? So
And Hannibal,
and then
keep this in mind. In 2018, Warner Brothers were so hard-headed that they didn't learn their lesson, and yeah, with when they hired James Gunn as to direct the Suicide Squad, because when I found out that James Gunn was going to direct a DCEU film with the Suicide Squad, all I thought to myself was, another Marvel Studios director that's writing and directing a DC solo project for them, because that worked out so well the last time they did it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're the ones that brought Joss Whedon to the Justice League set and had him add dialogue and stuff. They try to pretend like it was a collaborative thing. And then when Snyder left, they saw an opportunity and they took it. They made Joss Whedon the director. They continued to cut the movie down and change it. And the one we got in 2017 is pretty much unrecognizable from the one that Snyder was actually going to give us.
Yes, I did.
But, you know, I mean, I don't remember. Was it actually 2018 when Gunn? Because I remember he got fired from Disney, and then he got hired a few months back, a few weeks after that, actually, to do Suicide Squad. I just can't remember when he got fired. Was it 2019, 2018?
Summer of 2018. Summer of 2018.
So he immediately got hired to do the Suicide Squad, and then after he started work on that film, he got rehired to come back to Marvel and finish his Guardians trilogy. So the Suicide Squad came out in 2021. I'm pretty sure Guardians Volume 3 came out in 2022, 23? 23.
2023.
No, 2023, I think. So it was just kind of the perfect storm of events, to be honest with you. Like, I just rewatched the Suicide Squad a few days ago. I don't even hate the movie. I just, you know, I had no idea that we were going to go from there to where we are now. It's just kind of
Okay, this is
how
this
life
is
is.
basically a hot take. This is basically a hot take, but I really did not like James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. The humor in that film was horrible.
Oh yeah,
The editing was also pretty bad, and the plot was just riddled with plot holes and just a mess and just yeah. The only characters in the film that I liked were Harley Quinn and Ratcatcher the Second. That was it. Every other character was just stupid, bland, or wasted potential. And the end of the film where they take on Starro was one of the dumbest moments I have ever seen in any comic book film ever. And to answer Maverick Defender's questions, he basically wrote a bunch of comments about how the multiverse saga was basically just a cameo gimmick where they relied on cameos to like get the audience back. Like they relied on Hugh Jackman's Wolverine for Deadpool 3 to be a success. They relied on also cameos from Patrick Stewart and what was her name? Haley Atwell as Captain Carter for Doctor Strange to be a success. They even relied on cameos for No Way Home to be a success. Like, and not only that, he also made the argument. I'm just curious to know if you agree with this. He made the argument that if they had added nostalgia characters for the Marvels and other MCU movies that flopped, they would have become successes. Do you agree with that to an extent?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like those movies have way more issues with them than merely like who did or didn't show up as far as cameos go. If you had added cameos to the Marvels, for example, would that have helped the movie? Maybe. Like it maybe would have gotten a few extra tickets and maybe it would have made an extra 100 mil, but would it have made the movie better? Like would the movie have been you still would have had to rely on people watching that movie who didn't watch Miss Marvel, who didn't watch WandaVision and have no idea why two of the characters are even that important. So it's really to me more so the execution. Like with Spider-Man No Way Home, I'll still defend that movie. Like it's not like they just dropped Toby and Andrew into the movie for a quick hello and then got the fuck out of the movie and they're just there for easy fan service. Those guys had a point to being in the story. They actually contributed to the narrative. And even with them there, it didn't take away from the story, which was it was Tom Holland's Spider-Man story. He was still front and center to me. So I feel like when you execute it the right way, I don't think in and of itself cameos are a bad thing. I just think some of these movies are so poorly executed. I don't think cameos would have made a huge difference other than maybe a few extra tickets sold. But I'm looking at the movies that they've made that have underwhelmed. I mean, they literally had characters from The Incredible Hulk show up in the new Captain America movie, and that movie struggled to make over 400 million. It had Bucky in the movie. It had Harrison Ford is playing a new version of him, but Thunderbolt Ross, a Red Hulk. That should have been exciting for people. Even Betty showed up at the end of the fucking movie. The leader, who was in last time we saw him, he was just some goofy guy at the end of the Incredible Hulk. Like sometimes, the cameos, in general, they have to be earned. But when in regards to Marvel, some of these movies just had too many issues and too many problems for them to be saved, in my opinion. But could it have made a small difference? Sure, small.
Yeah, and Hannibal, I want to discuss Avengers Doomsday a little quick because this film did reference Doom. Well, it did include Doom in its mid-credit scene. I'm actually very worried that Avengers Doomsday might be underwhelming. Like, not bad, just underwhelming. Like, I'm gonna walk into it with very cautious expectations. Because like Rebecca Romaine confirmed just recently that the script is not finished yet, even though it's been a literal year after it was announced that Robert Downey Jr. is going to come back, is going to return as Doom, and that the film was in progress. So yeah, I'm not really that excited for it anymore. My most anticipated comic book film, to be honest, at this point, is the Batman Part Two by Matt Reeves because I love the first film and I cannot wait for Part Two. Yeah, so the Avengers Doomsday, I'm walking into that very cautiously. And not only that, I also have a theory that 90% of the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four are gonna die. Like Doctor Doom is gonna freaking he's gonna freaking kill all of them. Yeah. Like,
Oh
can
yeah,
you just imagine?
yeah. As my lovely wife Zendaya once said, expect disappointment, and you'll never be disappointed. Right. So, and it's kind of a very pessimistic view of everything, honestly, because I like to look at things glass half full. Right. I'm the positive guy. I like to, you know, I like to think that I look forward. I still have the same childlike joy and wonder going into a comic book movie sometimes, but I feel like anticipation and expectation are two different things. They don't always have to be the same. You can anticipate something as in be excited for it. Expectations are kind of specific. It's like, what do you expect to happen in this movie? What would make you happy if you saw this? What would make you mad if you saw this? Anticipation is just a general feeling to me. So when it comes to Avengers Doomsday, I'm not anticipating it weirdly, but I also don't really have high expectations for it. I don't have specific things that I want or need from it. So in that sense, I feel like the only way to go is up, which is another positive way of looking for it. I could go into it, I don't have expectations, and then hey, the movie could surprise me, and then it's like, holy shit, it actually wasn't that bad. Maybe because I
And
didn't
Hannibal,
expect anything. So it
Hannibal,
really just depends, honestly. As far as comic book movies, I'm most looking forward to the Batman Part Two. I would say Supergirl, and I would say Beyond the Spider Verse. I think those are my three most anticipated comic book movies in the next few years.
yeah, and Hannibal. There's also another thing I want to get out of the way. I also have no idea what the Russos were thinking by bringing back Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as Professor Xavier and Magneto because they're in their 80s now. There's a high chance they're going to pass away soon. So they should have brought back McAvoy and Fassbender instead. Like, I know that Stewart and McKellen are the most iconic ones, but so are McAvoy and McKellen. Sorry, McAvoy and Fassbender.
I think that's a solid take, but I think that also just lends credence to the idea that the X-Men are probably going to die in the movie, and like I'm not really attached to any of the cameos that show up in Avengers Doomsday specifically because I think a lot of the major ones are going to be dead by the end of the movie. I think Secret Wars is when you're gonna bring back the OG Spider-Man, right? You're gonna bring back Chris Evans says he's not coming back, but we know he's lying. He's probably gonna be coming back for that one. They're gonna bring back more people, and then they're gonna reset the universe, right? So I would say don't believe anybody is surviving until it's over. Other than Spider-Man's not going anywhere, and there's the Fantastic Four probably not going anywhere, not for a while. So I would say, other than them, everybody else is fair game. You don't know. Anybody could die.
Yeah.
I do agree. I think McAvoy and Fassbender, I think, would have probably been a better bet. But again, I also don't think it matters because if you're going to kill them off in this movie, does it really matter if you're using the older ones or the newer older ones? Right. Like, it'd be one thing if you're expecting them to last in the universe longer than that movie. But I don't really expect any X-Men to get out of that movie alive. So to me, you can use the older ones, the iconic ones. It doesn't really matter.
Except for Wolverine, because he's the most marketable one.
Except for Wolverine, because apparently they want him to do it until he's 90. I get it. I honestly feel like they need to find a way to let Hugh Jackman go at some point. God bless him. He held it down. He played this character for 20-something years, but God damn, man. I mean, he's going to be in his... Huh.
He's gonna be in his 60s soon. But Hannibal, if the MCU ever continues until like the late 2050s, they should bring back. And if Hugh Jackman ever survives that long, they should actually bring back Hugh Jackman at 9 years old as like a cameo for an MCU film, just as a payoff for that joke.
Yeah, they probably have to bring Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool back in too, because he's the one who said the joke. That would be kind of hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. That would be the best bit of humor Marvel's done. They chose the older ones because the older ones make more money. I mean, yeah. When he means they make more money, does he mean like they bring in more money, like to the audience, like for the box office?
Yeah. They bring more people to the box office because of nostalgia.
Okay, because I was like, if they make more, I took it the wrong way at first. I was like, if they make more money, wouldn't that would raise the budget up? I don't know if they want to. I don't know if they want them to make more money because that gets pretty expensive. People think budget is just about location. And it's not. There's a lot of things that go into the budget for a movie, the production budget. It takes into account everything. It takes into account locations. It takes into account props, extras, contracts, resources like food and stuff for the crew, lights. It pays for a lot of shit. Not to mention the visual effects
Hannibal
and stuff. So
Hannibal, take this rumor with a grain of salt, but there's a rumor that that Doomsday and Secret Wars budget are gonna have budgets ranging from like 450 million to like $600 million.
good Lord, I think that just gave me an aneurysm. I wouldn't rule it out, obviously, but that's obscene. That's insane, and it's a huge gamble that might not even pay off the way that they want. So, I mean, we'll see. But I guess when you've made 2 Avengers movies that are in the top 10 all-time highest grossing movies ever, I guess it makes you feel a little bit more bold about these type of things.
And what other thing was I also going to bring up? And another thing for Avengers Doomsday that's also bugging it down for me. Do you actually think they're gonna like bring back Wanda from the dead, like and completely undo his sacrifice from Multiverse of Madness? Because I actually do believe they're gonna bring her back from the dead.
Yes, of course. I mean, you didn't see her body. You didn't see a body. There's no guarantee that she's dead or that she's going to stay dead. And they've left that door wide open several times for her. It just makes sense. They know that Wanda has a big fan base. It just makes sense that she's going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. Which is another reason for me to like not be as excited because, truth be told, I'm not a big Wanda fan as far as like the MCU.
Hannibal, I don't blame you for saying you're not a big Wanda fan because she literally held an entire town hostage.
Yeah, but then the show tried to tell us that she was a hero and that nobody knows what she's. What dumbass thing did she say to that woman at the end of the story? She said, nobody's gonna know what you sacrificed or something like that. And I was just like, what? What? Why would you say something like that? Who wrote this? And then I found out who wrote this, and then they also, were writing on Multiverse of Madness. So I was just like, oh, okay. I know now. But yeah. I thought WandaVision was just okay. I think a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly, Maverick. Yeah, Wanda's not a good person at all. I mean, her motives were understandable, but yeah, she was not a good person at all. Like, and giving her a redemption arc was just fucking stupid to me. Like, I would even go as far to say they shouldn't have had Wanda be the main villain for Multiverse of Madness. They should have had either Nightmare or hear me out on this, maybe Mephisto. Either one of those two would have been perfect for Multiverse of Madness. And by the way, he brought up what's going to happen to Ta the Second. Ta is the name of is the planet of origin that Galactus lived on before this universe. Now that Galactus is banished to another part of the universe. I honestly don't know.
Vanished to another part of the universe. Very bold of you to assume that we're going to be seeing Galactus anytime soon. I mean, I
They
I
literally
understand.
explained. Just keep this in mind, Hannibal. They literally explained that without his ship, Galactus he's stranded. He can't move anywhere. He can't navigate.
Right. So I feel like this is just a very convenient way for the MCU to like not have to deal with Galactus for a very long time. They can just pretend like he's just out there. They can bring him back at a moment's notice when they need to, but otherwise, I would be very surprised if you see Galactus anytime soon. Like, not for years. Like, you don't have to worry about his planet. You don't have to worry about any of that. You're not going to see it for a very long time. I can promise you that.
And Hannibal,
Unless, of
would
course,
you say
Doctor Doom is trying to find Galactus so that he can use him for something, but I doubt that happens. So,
Yeah, me too. But by the way, Hannibal, would you say that First Steps is the best film, the best Fantastic Four film we've ever got? Because I definitely think so.
I think if I pulled my pants down right now and took a gigantic shit on this camera, I think that shit would clear most of the other Fantastic Four movies. So, yeah, it's the best fucking Fantastic Four movie. That's not a very high bar to clear. We haven't had a lot of really good Fantastic Four movies. Like, take a shit and then measure how tall your shit is, and it probably clears them. It probably does.
Yeah, and not only that, like I would say this is better than the Tim Story Fantastic Four films, even though I personally like them. Fantastic, yeah, that was.
I will say,
Had so much
I will
potential.
say there are some things about that first Fantastic Four film in 05. There are some things about that film that they do better than this one. I will say that. Not many, but there's a few things. The Reed's powers, for one, is I feel like Reed's powers were better utilized in that film. And Ben, I feel like Ben's personal story in that movie is just better than whatever we got from the Ben in this movie. Because the Ben in this movie, like I said, he didn't really get a story. He was just kind of there and helped out when they needed it. Although,
Yeah, I see.
they tried to set up that little romance with the teacher, and it never goes anywhere, and we never find out anything about what happens. I'm like, did you smash? You know, did you clobber? Like, what? Give me the details, good fellow. Like, he comes back to the apartment, and I'm just like, oh, I see you were out on a date with Miss Thing. Like, was it clobbering time? Say it. I want to hear you say it. And we don't hear it. We don't hear anything. Obviously, they could have just talked. They didn't have to have sex. But I'm just like, well, what was it like? Are you gonna date her again? You gonna see her again? Like, does she like it rough? I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. But I'm just saying, like, it just doesn't go anywhere. So that's another.
By the way, Hannibal, this just reminds me. I'm gonna pull this up right now. What you just said reminded me of this moment from Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I mean, the audio's off, but yeah, I remember that scene.
Yeah.
That's
How is the audio off?
the video had no audio. Like, I couldn't hear anything from it. But it's cool.
Okay, yeah.
It's cool. Like, it's a funny moment. That was one of the funniest moments
Yeah,
of that
like
movie.
yeah. So basically, it says they're like, "How do you two? That's none of your business. I'm just worried that one day she's gonna wake up and get killed in a rock slide. Oh, I'll show you a rock slide." Like that was a classic moment. Like that was actually true to the comics because Ben and Johnny had like this immature rivalry between each other that it was great. I loved it. Like I don't know if you watched the cartoon show, but there was one cartoon of the Fantastic Four that I grew up watching as a kid. It's called Fantastic Four: World's Greatest Heroes. And yeah, that was also a great show that stayed true to the spirit of the Fab Four. And I want to talk about Fantastic Four 2015 just for a little bit because that film had so much potential. Like I rewatched some of the trailers. Like the teaser trailer was great. Even though the tone was a little off, it didn't really match the tone of the Fantastic Four comic. Still, it still had so much potential. Like the original script by Jeremy Slater was amazing. Did you read the original script by Slater?
I actually have not. I have not read the original script, but it probably would have been better than whatever we got. I don't know what was going on with Josh Trank at the time. I mean, there were reports and rumors that he had showed up to set drunk and harassing and abusing everybody. So I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is, I wanted to claw my eyes out with something sharp after I was done watching the movie. And I don't feel that way often. And it whatever list you have, like if you have a list of the worst comic book movies ever made or that you've ever seen, I find it hard to believe that movie is not going to be somewhere on the list. It doesn't have to be top 5, but it has to be on the list somewhere in the top 10. Like that was really rough. This is a really bad one, and we don't get bad ones like that anymore. But good God, just
and Hannibal, like in Jeremy Slater's original script, Doctor Doom was going to be the main villain, but he would have switched it up a bit. He would have had him be the Herald of Galactus, but he would have had Doctor Doom's plan that he was going to betray Galactus later on, but that plan wouldn't go through because the Fantastic Four defeat him in the end. So basically, from beginning to end, the film would have opened similarly to the 2015 film with the Fantastic Four and Victor Von Doom going to the negative zone, and then the negative zone, like their mission to the negative zone goes horribly wrong, and it gives them their powers. And what else? It would have taken place, and then after that scene, it would have jumped to like 5 years later, 4 years later, and it would have showed them like beating the Mole Man, who was and his subterranean monsters. They were just going to be like in a throwaway cameo to establish that they're heroes now. And then Doctor Doom was going to show up, and his plan was that he was going to like consume the whole world into the negative zone for Galactus. But his plan was he wanted to betray Galactus and make himself all powerful. But the Fantastic Four ended up beating him in the end, and the ending would have set up Galactus as the main villain for a potential sequel. So yeah, his original script would have been much more action packed and far less boring than whatever we got.
Oh yeah, like I said, pile of shit. Measure it with a ruler. Probably beats that movie. I mean, that sounds a lot better than what we got. And I feel bad for the actors involved because I actually like that. I like most of those actors. Like, I love Michael B. Kate Mara. I think she's talented. I like most of these actors. Even the guy that I forget the name of it, the guy that played their father, Johnny and Sue's father in the movie.
He's a great actor. I know he.
Yeah, I forgot his name for some reason, but I don't even know what happened. Like the first 3/4 of the movie is just a normal.
I found his name is Reggie Cathy.
Yeah, Reggie. The first 3/4 of the movie is just a normal, bad, boring movie. It's bad, but it's not unwatchable. It's just kind of boring. And the first 3/4 of the movie, you probably never want to watch it again, but you would talk about it with somebody. And then as soon as the words 1 year later pop up on screen, it proceeds to get fist fucked into the dirt all the way to hell to become one of the worst things that you've ever seen in your life, to the point that you will never even think of the movie ever again, let alone speak about it. If it were playing on an airplane, I would still walk out. Like, if I were watching it on bootleg, I would still demand my money back. That is how bad things get in the last 3/4 of this movie. It is I was sitting in the theater in disbelief. I was just like, wait, what? What happened? It was just bad before. I didn't know it was going to become historically, generationally, atrociously awful. Like in every single way, everything. There's not a single redeemable quality in the last three quarters. The first three quarters, you can at least say, I mean, Kate Mara is hot, right? I mean, like, I don't know. Toby Kebbell, he has potential as Doom, right? I mean,
Toby Kebbell, like with Toby Kebbell as Doom, he would have been a great Doctor Doom. Like he has been proven in the past to play a great villain, like Koba in the Planet of the Apes films. Like he was wonderful as Koba in those films, but in this film, like what was going through my mind? By the way, I want to address one of the comments. Maverick Defender, I have interacted with your chats, but I don't want to constantly do that as I do want to converse with my friend over here. So yeah. Yeah. And another thing that I also want to get out of the way, like for me, Fantastic Four, the 2015 Fantastic Four film, it is one of the most intriguingly and interestingly bad films I've ever seen because of the potential it could have had. Like the cast they had were great. Like I know Michael B. Jordan was controversial because they made him Susan Storm's stepbrother instead of his biological brother, but I actually think it would have worked story-wise. They could have had it that because she's the adopted sister and his father Franklin kind of favors her, he feels a sort of resentment towards Susan because like she's the favorite child of Franklin and he wants to get his father's affection. They could have actually done something interesting with that with their sibling rivalry. But nah, they never actually take advantage of that. Like they could have made it doesn't matter if they got a white actor to play him, it still would have been the same thing. They didn't take advantage of them being step siblings.
I mean, in fairness, this is the same screenplay that also had Ben's "it's clobbering time" phrase being used as like an explanation for what his brother did to him growing up. As far as like he would abuse him and say it's clobbering time, and the film thought that I would want to see that. It thought that I would be interested in that aspect of Ben Grimm. And I know they took some stuff from the Ultimate Comics, but oh.
Hannibal, I don't know if you read the Ultimate Fantastic Four comics, but I've heard some really awful things about the Fantastic Four comics. Like I heard a lot of people say that it's like really bad. Is it really as bad as people say? Have you read them?
Just stay far away, man. Stay far away. It's you have a long life ahead of you. It's not worth it. It's not worth the extra grief and pain that you're gonna add to your psyche. Just
I mean, I'm almost 24, so fuck it.
Yeah, you got a long time. I would say you start saying fuck it when you're old and you're about to die and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can just let your stress go. When you're 24.
And not only that, Hannibal, one of the another missed potential is like Doctor Doom, like Doctor Doom's design for the 2015 film. Oh dear God, like what were they thinking? He basically looks like that robot guy from Futurama, Bender, if he was a meth addict. So that's basically what they made him look like.
Yeah, it was dog shit. Him walking down the hallway, blowing people's brains out for no reason, and it's just I don't. It's so funny because I've tried to repress this movie. Like I've tried to like act like it didn't happen, and I've tried to act like I don't remember it. And then every now and then when it's brought up, there's like a searing mental image that flashes into my head of something that happened, and the pain just comes back like it never left. It comes back stronger than ever before. It's like PTSD, and I should not have PTSD over a fucking Fantastic Four movie.
And Hannibal, come to think of it, if he had the power to like blow people's brains out with like his mind, why didn't he do that with the Fantastic Four then?
Because then we would not have a sloppy, schlocky CGI mess of a third act. So he was trying to increase the budget for the movie, or something. I don't know.
They shot, yeah. The main villain shoots a giant laser beam in the sky because we haven't seen enough of that.
Yeah. Ooh. One more thing, and then I gotta go meet my brother and my dad later.
Okay.
One more thing before I go. I do think, and this is something I'm going to bring up in my spoiler video for Fantastic Four this upcoming weekend. I do think that both Superman and Fantastic Four also do this thing where they kind of downplay or flip the stakes of the situation at the end of the movie, if you think about it. Like, the first time I saw Fantastic Four, I was like, I thought Galactus would cause a lot more damage or whatever. And then I realized why I thought that. I thought that because everybody in the damn city has been evacuated underground and they're not in any real danger. There's no real threat, right? In Superman, the city of Metropolis is getting fucked. Buildings are getting split apart, falling over. We do see citizens running and screaming every now and then, but we never get to see like what happens to them. We never see Superman flying around to save people in danger, other than the one woman who he like held up the skyscraper so that she could drive across the bridge or whatever. Great moment.
And Hannibal, how many people did Lex Luthor kill when he split the city in half? Like, I'm just curious because I'm pretty sure the casualties are like in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
I mean, probably, but they don't. My issue is they don't say anything about it. Like, they don't address it. We don't know because they never cut back to the civilians in order for us to know what state they're in. It's like they introduced the stakes of the city is getting split apart, and then they showed a little bit of it, and then they just kind of never go back to it. We never find out how the citizens are doing, how many are dead, what happened. Like, they just kind of ignore it because I guess they had other shit they wanted to focus on. And in Fantastic Four, it's a similar thing where they basically evacuate the entire city underground so that when Galactus comes, nobody's in any real danger other than the Fantastic Four. And I think that a lot of this feels like an overcorrection to movies like Man of Steel, where in Man of Steel, Zack wanted to show the full consequences of violence. And he did not want to shy away from that. He wanted that to feel real. He wanted the stakes to feel bigger than ever before because you knew people were losing their lives while all of this was happening. And so I feel like in movies afterward, they've gone out of their way to try to make sure, well, the civilians are not there, the place is inhabited, or oh, they've been evacuated, or oh, like I saw people online arguing about Superman, and they were like, well, did they evacuate the whole city? Because that's impossible. And I'm just like, the movie never even says that they evacuate the whole city. The movie doesn't say anything about it at all. They say the city is evacuating. They show people evacuating. They show some people running. They show some people scared and screaming, but we don't see who's dying or who's getting affected by this. They just kind of ignore it. And in Fantastic Four, it's the same thing. So I was going to address this where I was like, I think there needs to be more going forward. There needs to, if you're going to present a city destroying or a world annihilating super event that requires
and Hannibal,
I feel like you need to have a balance between the hero trying to save people and protect the civilians, but also not shying away from the impact of the violence that's happening. There's always going to be collateral damage when it comes to superheroes and the stakes when they're in these cities. They're fighting things that are destroying buildings and cars and property. There are going to be civilians and citizens that are in the way. If you live in Metropolis, you're probably used to it, right? This type of shit happens all the time.
And Hannibal, even another YouTuber I watch, Film Master Adam, he actually brought that up in his review of his them not explaining the collateral damage, how much collateral damage there was. Oh yeah, the city got split in half, but no one got hurt. It was just a complete overcorrection. It just seems too convenient. And what I really liked about Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and his grounded, realistic depiction of Superman is that he wasn't shy in explaining that thousands died during the Metropolis battle, during the Black Zero events, because he wanted to address the harsh realities of our world. And I think, I don't know who said this, I think it was Kevin Smith, that we live in a post 9/11 world now, and if you have like a major destructive event and you don't show the casualties of it, it's just not going to be believable to this modern day audience.
I mean, yeah, I think Like in Superman, they don't say that nobody died. They just don't address it. Like we have to guess and assume that people died. And in Fantastic Four, they removed the possibility of it completely by putting everybody underground and just having them like look up at the ceiling really worried every now and then. But they were perfectly fine. They were never in any real danger. And so I feel like you have to have a balance. You can have the superhero trying to save people, trying to look out for people, but you can also show that there are going to be if there are going to be citizens there, you don't want to always flip the stakes to the point that they feel like they don't matter. And I feel like they did that in those movies. At the end, it's very similar the way that they do it. Superman just doesn't address it. Fantastic Four just removes the conflict from the movie like whatsoever. Like it just removes the entire thing. So to me, I mean, I look at the first Avengers movie, and Lord knows I don't think the first Avengers movie has aged that well. But in the first Avengers movie, they kind of showed a good balance of the heroes were saving people when they could. Whenever they had an opportunity, they tried to save somebody. But at the same time, you didn't walk away from the Battle of New York saying, well, everybody's perfectly fine. Nobody died. Everybody's good. And it's not like the movie never showed that. It showed the destruction, and we saw people die. Like there's literally a Captain America movie that comes out a few years after that details how many casualties were in all of these big world-ending events. The Battle of New York, Wakanda, right? With like Wanda helped blow up an entire building of people on accident, obviously, but she did that. Like the Hulk and Abomination and their fight in Harlem. Are we trying to act like that? Like they showed the casualties or whatever. And that's where I'm like, you don't have to shy away from people dying or from buildings getting destroyed or any of that. Like
Exactly.
it's gonna happen. It's just an inevitability. What you have to do is you have to make sure the hero is either not an active participant in it, and that the hero is not just reveling in it or ignoring it. You have to have the hero or heroes do their best to save people, to protect people while that shit is going on. But
And
with the understanding that they can't save everybody. Can't save everybody.
I very much understand your point. Yeah, you are on point, bro. Like, even if you're doing like an idealistic, cartoony take on Superman or any other hero, you still have to show the realistic consequences of violence, because there's a limit to our suspension of disbelief. Like, you're telling me that Lex Luthor literally split the whole city in half and there were no mass casualties? Like, come on. Like, that's just way too convenient for me. But yeah, we do have to wrap it up now because both of us have some stuff to do. But yeah, Fantastic Four first steps. All we have to say is,
Hey, that's pretty good.
yeah, Fantastic Four first steps. Really enjoyed it. Both of us really did, and we highly recommend that you all see it in theaters if you're a massive Marvel Comics fan like me. So yeah, stay tuned next time, and I think I'm gonna do another live stream like this one for maybe Avatar Fire and Ash, or maybe the Supergirl film coming out in June of next year. So yeah. Yeah, loved doing this live stream review. We kind of jumped all over the place, and we only talked about Fantastic Four for like 40% of this stream. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.
Peace.